So here's the setup on the First Warn 5 Sky Tracker, and it's really a classic, what we call mid-latitude cyclone, and especially one for the late winter and early spring months. We have our area of low pressure producing what we call a comma head appearance to the whole system here. You have your counterclockwise flow around the low, your swath of precipitation, snow or otherwise, on the northern flank, and then kind of this leading band or tail of the comma, so to speak, with the showers and storms moving in across parts of Illinois. And it has all the facets of a classic late winter, early spring winter storm. In the warm sector where the cold and the warm front are, we have our rain and our thunderstorms. That's the first round of showers that'll be rolling in around daybreak tomorrow. Then where the warm air gets separated from the low itself, we have a wedge of dry air, our powerful central low, which, by the way, in this case was also a bomb cyclone with the pressure dropping 24 millibars or more in 24 hours or less. And just for an added punch for the folks on the northern flank of the system, they got the snow and blizzard conditions. So on the hour-by-hour forecast, we go from midnight into 8 o'clock. It won't be really till we hit about the 5 a.m. hour, but certainly into the morning commute at 8 o'clock. First push of rain comes through with some occasionally heavier downpours, maybe even a stray rumble of thunder. We get a few breaks of sunshine as that dry wedge settles in over the region by about midday, but that destabilizes the atmosphere, and then as the low itself presses in by 3 o'clock, new round of rain with some embedded thunderstorms, some of which could be on the stronger side, come in. Those will persist in scattered fashion throughout the evening commute, then gradually start to wind down to just leftover scattered showers into tomorrow night. Rainfall totals from the event here, we're looking at generally a quarter to as much as 3/4 of an inch overall, leading to that potential for some flooding. And if that all weren't enough, possibility that some of the thunderstorms tomorrow could be on the strong to potentially severe side. Wind gusts definitely going to be the biggest threat, but in this situation, can't completely rule out an isolated brief spin-up tornado. So stay weather aware on your Thursday. Let's reset here for anyone who may just be joining us. Tornado warning now in effect until 7:30 p.m. for northeastern parts of Shiawassee County, as well as northwestern parts of Genesee County. This new tornado warning will be in effect until 7:30, so we're talking about at least roughly another 20 to 25 minutes here before this potential warning potentially expires. This is for a confirmed tornado touchdown roughly around the Corunna area about 20 or so minutes ago and has been on a northeasterly path. And as of the latest update we have here, it is accelerating its forward motion on the ground, moving northeast at 60 miles per hour. If you are in the path of this storm, anyone who lives essentially on the west or northwest sides of the Flint area and including in the city of Flint, you need to be getting to your shelter right now, because even though we're talking about a very localized area where the tornado is, we're still talking about the potential for very damaging winds. Easily, we could be talking about wind gusts away from the tornado in upwards of about 60 to 70, 80 miles per hour or more. But especially if you are, again, in the direct path of where we saw that circulation, you need to get to shelter right now. So let's go back to our velocity mode here and see if we can once again get a better idea of where the tornado likely is at this point. This is a bit encouraging, but again, we're still talking about a very dangerous situation here. But based on our latest radar scan, if we look at what the winds are doing, we're roughly seeing a little bit of a flattening out. It's becoming a little more fuzzy, if you will, in terms of our overall rotation here. This latest scan actually just updating there. We do still see a bit of a notch here indicating where we might have some rotation lingering right over the Clayton Township area right now. If we do still have that tornado on the ground, that's most likely where it's going to be. We have not yet gotten any confirmation that it has lifted. So in Clayton Township, it is imperative that you be in your shelter right now. This tornado is on top of you as we speak, continuing to move off toward the north and east at about 60 miles per hour. Let's once again zoom out here, and we'll put a storm track on the system based on where the tornado roughly is right now. Again, moving northeast 60 miles per hour. That's going to put it, again, on top of Clayton Township, 1 minute basically there as we speak. Beecher, this is going to be in your area in the next 13 minutes. Genesee Township in 17 minutes. So we're, roughly talking about 25 after or so for Genesee Township.
Chief Meteorologist Bryan Bachman has more on whether nature's forecaster is fact or fiction.
Well, woolly bear caterpillars, or woolly worms, are a common sight this time of year as they begin to seek out a place to ride out the upcoming winter. But could they also be trying to give us some insight into what we can expect for the upcoming winter? Well, according to a well-known legend, they just might. A woolly bear caterpillar's body is made up of 13 segments colored either black or brown. Now, if there's more brown, legend has it that the upcoming winter will be milder. More black coloring, on the other hand, suggests a harsher winter ahead. So how did this all start?
Let's rewind to the fall of 1948 when Dr. C.H. Curran from the American Museum of Natural History in New York traveled to Bear Mountain outside of New York City to study the caterpillars there. By determining the average number of brown segments in the caterpillars over the next 8 years, each fall Curran found that more than a third of the caterpillars' bodies were colored brown. And yes, the following winters were milder than normal. But is it really that simple? I visited the Chippewa Nature Center in Midland to learn more about our fuzzy friends.
These guys are looking for cover, so they're going to be spending the winter down in the leaf litter in people's gardens, backyards, out among the plants.
Jen Kurtz says they can actually freeze during the winter, but in the spring they create a cocoon and emerge as an Isabella tiger moth.
From there, those moths will mate and they will have eggs that hatch in May, and then they'll go through the whole life cycle over the summer again.
But what about our legend? Can the caterpillars really predict the upcoming winter?
Like all cold-blooded animals, temperature does have an impact on their development, but the color of their bands has more to do with their history, what conditions were like as they've been growing up, than it does a prediction.
So while the predictions from our woolly bear friends may be just fun folklore, you can count on the First Warn 5 weather team to keep you ahead of the real forecast all winter long. I'm Chief Meteorologist Bryan Bachman, WNEM TV 5. Well, Meg, the situation's still very dire for folks along the southeast coast here tonight, but none especially more so than folks on Grand Bahama Island. You see the system there. This is a 6-hour satellite animation here. System is not moving tonight. As of the latest advisory, Dorian sits still at a Category 4 hurricane with maximum sustained winds at 140 miles per hour. But over the better part of the last 6 hours, it has not moved. Worse so is the fact that yesterday the system was coming ashore on the eastern end of Grand Bahama Island, still as a Category 5 hurricane. And with the way the eye is positioned right now, most of the island is still in the southern eye wall, meaning they have been subjected to the most intense part of this storm for over 24 hours now. As for folks in Florida, we heard that some of the rain bands, of course, have been coming in ashore today. And as the system finally begins to meander off toward the north and west over the next couple of days, that trend will continue. But here's the problem. This is the forecast movement over the next 2 days, all the way out to Wednesday afternoon. It's roughly going to sit about 50 miles offshore, not anticipating a direct landfall in Florida by the look of it now. But what's concerning is the fact that with the center still so close, the system is still expected to be a Category 3 major hurricane, which means those rain bands will continue to pummel the state, torrential downpours, flash flooding likely from those. Not to mention the fact that those winds continuing to spin around the storm will push water inland. They're still projecting about a 4 to 7 foot storm surge along the immediate coastal areas of Florida, in addition to tropical storm, if not at times, hurricane force winds. Like I mentioned before, that snowfall that has already been record-breaking, especially in the Flint area, we're going to transition away from that into record cold as we head into tomorrow, because now we're bracing for the second shot of Arctic air that we were talking about late last week. And you can see what we're dealing with here. We've got temps well down into the single digits across the northern tier, even a 0-degree reading in International Falls. And yeah, you guessed it, all of that air is going to be spilling our way as our storm system from today, now centered here on the First Warn 5 Sky Tracker in western Pennsylvania, moves away into New England. It's going to take most of the snow activity with it, but then it's all about that Arctic high pressure system that you see over the Dakotas as that gradually builds east across the Great Lakes over the next couple of days. And this record cold will apply not only to our high temperatures for tomorrow, but also likely our low temps tomorrow night into Wednesday morning. But let's go back to the snow here for a moment. First Warn 5 hour-by-hour forecast continuing to show those intense lake effect bands by the time we hit 11 p.m., funneling in mostly across the thumb right up to about the Tri-Cities and Flint. Then what's going to happen overnight is as our winds begin to take on more of a north and then northwesterly direction, here's 2 a.m. We're just going to watch this band continue to pivot its way across the thumb, still lingering in places like Bad Axe, Harbor Beach to Sandusky first thing tomorrow morning, then finally beginning to pull away out into Lake Huron late tomorrow morning and by about midday. Many of us will see a good blend of clouds and sunshine by the look of it for tomorrow. But then remember, we still have lake effect opportunities from Lake Michigan as the northwesterly winds kick up tomorrow. It'll be partly to mostly cloudy with scattered lake effect snow showers coming in from the north and west. And while these could lead to a new dusting on area roads, these at least will not lead to huge accumulations. So again, an additional 6 to 10, maybe higher, is likely by the time we hit mid-morning or so tomorrow in most of Huron County. 3 to 6, including the Caro and Sandusky areas. An additional narrow band of 1 to 3 right up to about the east side of the Tri-Cities. And then generally an inch or less, really nothing more than a dusting for just about everybody else overnight.